You mentioned in the book that professional writers know how to take a story idea and make it commercial. So how does an amateur writer develop this skill?
You know, several of the writers said, you know, I had no formal training in writing. I just locked myself in the room and I watched sitcoms, and I'm sort of an analytic type, and I just figured out how they do it. And it was interesting that they were pretty much self-taught.
David Breckman, whose brother created Monk and who was on Monk for many years on Saturday Night Live before that, David is young. He's 40. He's very young.
Just a kid.
And he
but he wishes he was 24 again.
He learned from his accounting, he just was in love with every aspect of the business and studied everything. And the thing he said, and that he tells his students, because he's teaching now, is expect for your first couple of scripts to be really lousy and be happy about that. Embrace that, because you learn much more. This is what I would tell I don't like the word amateur, but this is what I would say to a beginning writer. Embrace crap. Embrace it, allow it to be bad, because that's the way you learn. You don't learn from writing something good. Nobody does. That's another one of those myths that's out there. The idea that, and a lot of young writers think, oh, I do 1 or 2 drafts and I've done my job. Oh, but real professionals know that it's 14, 15, 16, 17 drafts, you know, and that you be concentrating on different things in each draft. But that's the hardest thing I have to do with students, is say to them, do it again, do it again. You know, there's some good stuff in here. You're not telling the story you think you're telling. Do it again.
They get so down on themselves when it doesn't come out perfectly in the first draft. They don't have talent.
And there is no perfection ever, and any professional writer will tell you that there's it might be great, but you take any great film that you can think of. Just think of King's Speech, which I think is arguably one of the best films of the last 5 years. That started as a play, which he had put away because the Queen asked him to. You know that story, right? She had asked him she said not while she was alive. He was doing a reading at some little theater in London, and the director's mother brought him and said, you have to make this, you have to film this. You know, it's weird the way things happen, and he's not a young guy either, that writer. So I don't think there are any rules. Again, it's patience. Joyce Carol Oates, who's one of my favorite novelists, said that the difference between an amateur writer and a professional is that she talked about herself. She said that when she starts writing, this is good advice, I think, for beginners, that it'll take 4 or 5 weeks, and if she goes to the desk every day, the book will start to form. But you've got to go every single day and show up, even if it's for 2 or 3 hours. And what happens with beginners is they give up around week 3, and they think it's not going to come. You have to tolerate the frustration. You have to tolerate the bad writing. And this goes back kind of to what I get out of this partnership. Peter is very, very good at slinging things up against a wall and letting it be whatever it is. He's very fast. And it's like dental surgery for me, the first draft. I would probably rather have a root canal than write a first draft. It's very hard. When he gives me something to look at, it's much easier for me to come in and say, okay, well, this could go here, or maybe... some people just love writing first drafts, and some people hate it. I hate it. I love rewriting. Hate writing. He loves the first draft. He just loves writing it. And he doesn't judge himself. He just throws it out there. That's one of the things I hate most about him. But it's a gift to have that. And why would I want to be with someone who is like me? You know, he also can put pressure on me. He likes that because he's Jewish and he likes to sling guilt, so... It works well for both of us.
I know a lot of joint locks, so it comes in very handy.
He has a belt. You're gonna be frightened, Peter. But I actually think that that's really good advice for young writers, is to stay at the desk. Just stay there. And no matter, it's not about how fast you're doing it, it's about staying there. She's absolutely right, Joyce Carol Oates. It's about allowing it to be crap.
There's a term in psychology called self-efficacy. And
whatever the hell that means.
We define it simply as domain-specific self-confidence.
Which is equally annoyingly
Which is, if you
incomprehensible.
See, when Jeffrey sits down to write, he'll stay at the task because he knows if he does it long enough, it's going to become okay. But if somebody doesn't believe in their skills, and they keep going back and saying, I don't like what's happening here, it's easy to get discouraged and say, I don't have it, I can't do it.
So in English...
Or this project doesn't work, so I'm going to start something else.
So here's a good solution for that for beginning writers, and for any writer, is don't be attached to it, and don't go back. I have to keep saying this to students. You got notes. Put them somewhere. Don't go back and rewrite the first 25 pages. Keep going forward. Going back is a trap. Richard Walter talks about this in one of his books. Going back in the middle of a draft is super dangerous, because then you just you're doing what he's saying. You're never going to finish it. It's just always going to be, it's much better to throw it up against the wall, let it be what it is, because then you've got something and you can rewrite it. And I mean, it's simple and it seems obvious, but you'd be surprised how many writers won't do that. Even seasoned professional. When I meet people who say, I've been working on a screenplay for 10 years, I always think to myself, you're not Tolstoy. You don't get to, you're not writing War and Peace. It's a screenplay. You should be writing, if that's what you're really doing, you should be writing 5 bad ones the first 5 years. Not one for 20 years. I mean, that's crazy.